Last class we did the discriminant. Where can you find it in here? Under the radical. What did the discriminant tell us? Did it tell us the solutions? It did. Yes, ma'am.
It just tells you how many solutions there are.
Tells you how many solutions there are. So I'm going to give you an example of a discriminant, and you tell me how many solutions there would be. Let's see. The discriminant 114. How many solutions would that be?
2.
2. The discriminant negative 544.
0.
The discriminant 0.
1.
That's a tough one, isn't it? You want to say 0? Yep. Okay. So now we're going to use the whole thing. This right here will tell you how many, but it doesn't tell you what they are. This whole thing will tell you what they are. Just like when you completed the square to find these ugly solutions, this equation right here will give you the same thing. Just to remind, it goes ax squared plus bx plus c, correct? That would be in standard form. Is this in standard form?
No.
What's wrong with it?
C.
How would I get it in standard form?
You would subtract the C.
Subtract the c. So I'd have to subtract the c, giving me this. Is this in standard form?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. When we pull out our a, b, and c, we always have to be careful to make sure we take the sign with them. So the formula goes, anybody know the song Row, Row, Row Your Boat?
Yeah.
Oh, you could sing it then, because there's like a song out there. You should search it, YouTube it. There's a song to Row, Row, Row Your Boat. The Quadratic Formula, there very well could be some other nursery rhymes to this. So if you plug it in, my B's come first. My A's come next. And my C is last. And this is just us taking all those values and we're going to stick them in. We're not going to make it any more complicated than it is. We got one practice. This is not on your paper, so don't, start looking for a piece of paper. It is not on your paper. Write down this example on your piece of paper. You got it written down?
Yes.
I'm waiting. We all good? All thumbs up? Okay. A, B, C. Decide what's A, decide what's B, and decide what's C. But long before you do that, you must make sure it is in standard form, is it?
Yeah.
Yes. So go ahead and write down A, B, and C. Chris, what's A?
A would be 2.
What's B?
Negative 8.
What's C?
Negative 6.
Everybody okay with that? Okay. So then I'm going to write my formula. It goes x equals negative parentheses plus or minus the square root parentheses squared minus 4 parentheses parentheses all over 2 parentheses. Where did all those parentheses come from?
Where you fill in
That's where all the letters were, right? I'm just replacing them all. Quite often when students draw this fraction bar, they don't draw it all the way under. A lot of the time they just draw it from here over. The entire top is divided by 2a. Make sure your fraction bar is the entire distance or your answer will be incorrect. We ready to plug in?
Yes, ma'am.
My first 2 parentheses are b. So what's b?
Negative 8.
Does everybody know why it's b?
Yes.
Everybody can relate it back. Here's a b, here's a b.
Yeah.
So b equals negative 8, so I'm going to plug in negative 8 in my first 2 parentheses. These 2 parentheses are both what?
A.
And what did a equal?
2.
And everybody know where it came from?
Yes.
Okay, so we can put in 2. My last parentheses is all,
It's all
it's off. It got off down at the bottom, so it went back there. I don't know. My last parentheses is C. So what's C? -6. Making sure we keep our sign. If you can plug it in correctly, after that, all you're doing is simplifying. So let's start at the beginning. -8. What's that going to be?
Positive.
So I got 8 plus or minus the square root. What's this inside going to be? Let's start off here. -8 squared is?
64.
Okay, so right here I've got 64 going on. Minus, what's 4 times 2? Okay, -4 times 2 is -8. -8 times -6?
Positive 48.
Positive 48. So 64 and positive 48 is what's going to be in here. Is this going to be positive, negative, or equal to 0?
Positive.
How many solutions will I have?
2.
Good. So what is that number? 64 and 48.
112.
Good. My fraction bar is all the way across. What goes on the bottom?
2 divided by 2. Yeah,
I have a
2 to
question.
4.
Yes. 4? Okay. Yes.
So, I couldn't see, so how do you get 64 plus 40? Is that?
-8 squared is 64.
And then you do the rest?
-4 times 2 times -6 is plus 48.
Alright.
Okay. Am I done?
No.
Simplify.
What will simplify? The 112. So let's look at our 112. Will my radical simplify? Is it even? So I can go by 2? How many times will 2 go into 112?
56.
56. Still even? How many times will 2 go into 56?
28.
How many times will 2 go into 28?
14.
How many times will 2 go into 14? I got a pair of buddies and I got a pair of buddies. So what can come out?
2 times.
2, 2.
2.
So let's see. That would be 8 plus or minus 2 times 2 is 4. What stays inside?
7.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, where'd you get the 4? 2 times 2. You brought one.
I got a pair of 2's that come out. I got another pair of 2's that come out. So when I pull them out, it's 2 times 2, which is 4. Is everybody okay with that? Yeah?
So you do the buddy pairs.
Just answer that question. Yes.
So you do.
So in other words, you have 112 is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. Right? There's a pair, there's a pair. Which means 2 times 2 comes out, 7 stays in.
Okay.
2 times 2 is 4. Okay. Can it simplify anymore? Actually can.
Oh,
This is where the mistake can happen though. You have to be very careful when you simplify this. The entire top is being divided by 4. So you're talking about will these two reduce and will these two reduce? Or will 4 go into this and will 4 go into that? Will it?
Yes.
Will 4 go into 8?
Yes.
Will 4 go into 4?
Yes.
Then it'll reduce. So how many times does 4 go into 8?
2.
How many times does 4 go into 4?
1.
So I don't have to put the 1, I can just do this, correct? How many answers do I have?
2.
Are you sure?
2.
Three.
2 plus
Miss Moon.
the square root of 7, and 2 minus the square root of 7. 2 answers. Your plus or minus can separate out into 2 answers. Yes, ma'am. Let's talk about this last step one more time, because this is the one that will mess with us. So I'm just going to make up some numbers at this point. Let's do... No, I don't want that. Change my mind. Yeah, that's fine. Will this work?
Yes.
Could I reduce it? What would I reduce it to?
2 and plus or minus 4.
2 plus or minus 4. Okay.
So does a 3 never...
Will this work?
You could...
No.
3 doesn't go into 2. Well, it could be 2 and 3.
This is fine, but this won't work, will it?
No.
So it won't be done. That's it. There's nothing else to do. What about this scenario? I don't want that. Hold on. What about this scenario?
Could you,
So this one we decided was 2 plus or minus 4 square root of 3. This one is done. That would be the answer, right? What about this one?
you can't simplify it?
You don't think so? What about these two?
Yeah.
Well, doesn't it have,
What about these two?
Three.
So let's see. If I were to say, what? 3 over 12 is what?
4. No, it's not.
4, it's 1/4, right?
Yeah.
And 4 over 12 is, so,
Doesn't work.
doesn't work? Okay, so try this idea. No?
No.
Okay, so let's be clear. There's not a number that will divide into 3, 4, and 12. Do you agree? Is there a number that will divide into 4, 6, and 12? Aren't they all even? So then we know 2 is going into it. How many times will 2 go into 4?
3.
How many times will 2 go into 6? How many times will 2 go into 12?
6.
So you're looking for all 3 of the numbers have to reduce by the same thing. They all have to be divisible by the same number. And it doesn't have to be any of the numbers that are there. Okay? Yes.
Wait, you asked how many times does 4 go into 12?
No, I didn't. I said how many times is 2 going to 12? You just weren't listening.
Wait, how do you get 2 for the first number on the bottom right? You see 2 plus minus?
How many times does 2 go into 4?
Or 2?
How many times 2 go into 6? How many times 2 go into 12?
Hey, why would you do how many times does 2 go into 4? Why would you do that?
Because they all are divisible by 2. That's their greatest common factor.